It was a quiet evening in downtown Chicago, the kind where the neon lights reflected on wet pavement and jazz music hummed softly from the old diner on 5th Street. The place wasn't fancy, just a small, warm corner eatery known for its pancakes and friendly staff. Among the regulars was a woman named Angela, a graceful black woman with calm eyes and a smile that could ease anyone's bad day. She worked there as a waitress, always polite, always composed, never letting the city's roughness dull her kindness. That night, she had no idea her patience would be tested to its limits, and that one man's arrogance would change his life forever. Around 8 p.m., a group of 3 men entered the diner. They looked out of place: flashy suits, heavy gold chains, and loud voices that demanded attention. The leader of the group, a man named Ricky Burns, was known around the city as a local bully and wannabe tough guy. He wasn't truly dangerous, just someone who loved to throw his money and temper around to feel powerful. His friends laughed at his crude jokes, nodding at everything he said like obedient followers. Angela approached their table with her usual warm smile. "Good evening, gentlemen. What can I get you?" she asked, holding her notepad ready. Ricky barely glanced up. "About time someone came over. We've been sitting here for 5 minutes," he said, rolling his eyes. Angela, keeping her composure, replied softly, "I'm sorry, sir. We've been a bit busy tonight. What would you like to order?" Instead of answering, Ricky smirked. "You know what? Bring me coffee. Black. Like you." His friends burst out laughing. Angela froze for a second, the insult slicing through her, but she didn't respond. Years of experience had taught her not to argue with people like him. She simply nodded and walked to the counter, ignoring the cruel chuckles behind her. As she poured the coffee, the chef, an old friend named Tony, whispered, "You okay, Ange?" "Yeah," she replied quietly, forcing a smile. Some people just don't know better. But Ricky wasn't done. When Angela returned with the coffee, he grabbed her wrist roughly as she placed the cup down. "Hey, sweetheart," he sneered. "You got a name, or should I just call you, darlin'?" "Please let go of my hand, sir," Angela said firmly, though her heart raced. Ricky leaned closer. "I like a woman with fire," he taunted. "But you should learn your place." That's when Tony came out from behind the counter. "Hey, leave her alone, pal." Ricky stood up, his eyes flashing. "Mind your business, old man," he barked, shoving Tony backward. The entire diner went silent. Even the jazz music felt distant. Angela tried to calm the situation. "Please, don't make a scene. Just sit down, and all." Before she could finish, Ricky slapped her hard across the face. The sound echoed through the diner like a gunshot. Her tray fell, coffee splashing across the floor. Gasps filled the room. A child started crying. Tony grabbed a phone to call the police, but Angela raised her hand slightly, tears welling in her eyes but her voice steady. "Don't. It's okay." She turned and quietly walked into the back room, holding her cheek. The customers glared at Ricky, whispering angrily. But Ricky just grinned, straightening his jacket. "What?" She was mouthing off. He said, "People these days forget who's in charge." But what Ricky didn't know was that Angela's husband, Marcus Leone, was very much in charge. Marcus wasn't an ordinary man. To most people, he was a respected businessman who ran several nightclubs and real estate ventures around Chicago. But in the city's shadows, his name carried weight, the kind of weight that made even the toughest men think twice. Marcus Leone was the quiet boss of the Leone crime family, a powerful organization that had controlled parts of the city for decades. When Angela married him, she made him promise that their home, and her diner job, would remain untouched by his business. Marcus loved her deeply and respected that wish. She wanted a normal life, and he gave her that. But when his wife was hurt, all promises were off the table. That night, Angela came home later than usual. Marcus was sitting in his study, reading the newspaper when he saw her face. A red handprint still marked her cheek. He froze. "Angela, what happened?" She tried to smile. "Just a customer. It's fine, Marcus." But he wasn't fooled. He stood up slowly, his voice low and dangerous. "Who? Please," she said softly. "I don't want trouble. It's not worth it." Marcus gently touched her face, his eyes filled with a cold fury. "You are always worth it." Within an hour, Marcus's men had found the diner's security footage. The moment Marcus saw Ricky slap his wife, his entire demeanor changed. The calm, loving husband was gone. What remained was the silent, ruthless leader who didn't forgive disrespect. The next night, Ricky and his friends were back at their favorite bar, laughing about the incident. You should have seen her face, man, Ricky bragged. One little slap and she went crying. The bartender's smile faltered when the door opened. A group of men in dark suits entered quietly. They didn't look around. They already knew who they were there for. Ricky Burns. One of them asked. Ricky frowned. Yeah, who's asking? The man nodded slightly. Mr. Leone would like a word. Ricky's smile vanished. Leone. Wait. Marcus Leone. Before he could react, they surrounded him and led him outside to a waiting black car. The ride was silent, the tension thick enough to choke on. When they reached the Leone estate, Ricky was trembling. The mansion loomed like a fortress, guarded and grand. He was ushered into a study where Marcus sat behind a desk, the dim light casting long shadows across his face. Marcus didn't speak for a long time. He just stared at Ricky, eyes cold and unreadable. Finally, he said, "You hit my wife." Ricky swallowed hard. I didn't know she was your wife, sir. It was just a misunderstanding. Marcus stood, his voice calm but deadly. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was disrespect. And disrespect has a price. Ricky fell to his knees. Please, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Marcus raised his hand, silencing him. You think an apology erases humiliation? You humiliated my woman. In front of strangers. You made her bleed. You made her cry. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. I don't let anyone make her cry. Ricky was shaking, tears streaming down his face. Please, I'll do anything. Marcus nodded slowly. You will. The next morning, the diner opened as usual. Customers came in, sipping coffee and chatting about the news. Angela was wiping tables when the door opened, and Ricky walked in, dressed in a plain white shirt, eyes red from crying, hands trembling. He walked straight to Angela, the entire diner watching. He knelt on the floor and said loudly, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I was cruel. Please forgive me." Angela looked at him, stunned. You didn't have to. He interrupted, tears falling. Please. I deserve worse. But I wanted to make it right. Angela hesitated, then nodded. Apology accepted. Ricky stood slowly, and before leaving, placed a large envelope on the counter. Inside was $50,000 in cash. For damages, Marcus had said. That night, when Angela came home, Marcus was waiting. She looked at him with mixed emotions, gratitude and worry. Marcus, what did you do? He simply smiled and kissed her forehead. Nothing you need to worry about. Some men just needed to learn respect. From that day on, no one dared raise their voice at Angela again. The diner became even busier, not because people were afraid, but because word spread that the mysterious woman behind the counter was married to someone powerful who loved her fiercely. As for Ricky, he disappeared from Chicago not long after. Some say Marcus let him live as long as he left the city forever. Others whispered that he still worked for the Leone family, quietly paying off his debt for the rest of his life. Angela never asked for revenge. She never wanted violence. But deep down, she knew that night proved something no one could deny: respect isn't demanded through fear or power. It's earned through how you treat people. And sometimes, those who seem the gentlest have the strongest protectors standing behind them. The diner still stands on 5th Street, its neon lights glowing late into the night. And if you ever walk in and see a kind woman serving coffee with a calm smile, you'll feel that quiet strength in the air, the kind that only comes from someone who's been through fire and come out shining brighter.